Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm Farokh Petafi. Just a quick reminder that the regular host of this program, Sana Maqbool, is traveling internationally. She will be back by Monday. Until then, I am supposed to guest host this program. So today we are going to talk about only one issue, and that is very important. It is the suo motu hearing in the Supreme Court of Pakistan. Of course, the idea or the seed of this suo motu actually came from another case where election was not, the mainstay of discussion. It was essentially about a police officer who was removed by the Election Commission or the caretaker government in Punjab. And at that time, the honorable judges, three-member bench actually requested that there should be a suo motu case. And finally, we have seen that nine-member bench has started listening to the question and is actually the proceedings have moved forward. There seem to be three very important points that the Honorable Court was deliberating. One of them, or the first most, was the thing that we have been repeatedly pointing out, that the issue of who gives the date of election is important, because governor says that it is not in his mandate. Election Commission says that it cannot do it on its own, and the president seems too eager to give a date. What exactly is going to happen? We are going to discuss that as well. Today basically was just framing of the whole questions, and there was one question added, and that was dissolution of assemblies as an arbitrary act of power. So that is also going to be included in it, whether it is also constitutional or not. Amazingly, because repeatedly we have been hearing that, constitution mandates that the election takes place in 90 days. And, because of that, if anybody violates the constitution, so that is going to create a lot of big problem for the country. And today also we saw that while this issue was also debated, the biggest problem, as highlighted by Justice Mandokhel, one of the members of the bench, was whether, as per the Article 184(3), this suo motu was a serious, merited, this case merited a suo motu. So that was quite interesting. But then, of course, the questions were also that were presented by the bench were also important. Remember, even although I understand that the constitution mandates elections in 90 days, the biggest question is what happens if the elections take place on the 91st day or 92nd day. Is it going to create some humongous crisis for the state or the country, and whether it is related to public interest litigation as compared to a couple of other cases which are very important. For example, in Barkhan, if you are following news, there is the issue of a family that was assassinated, but we haven't seen any suo motu on that. Similarly, there was another very important issue at this moment. Remember, while we are talking about the word of constitution, which is very important, the constitution itself actually draws its legitimacy from it being a social contract between whom? The state and the people of Pakistan. So in this country, inflation is going through the roof. And at that time also, because the federal government, because of the shortfall of revenue, had to introduce a 1% increase in the GST. And the primary reason of that, we are told, is that a federal government had imposed a super tax, 10% super tax on LSM last year. But then this matter was stayed by high courts and eventually ended up in Supreme Court, and there it was cut down to 4%. So whether the matter of inflation actually takes precedent or whether this case does. And there is, of course, the issue of limitation. What happens when the constitution is silent on something? The honorable court can interpret something, but can it also legislate? If not, what exactly is going to happen? Whether the honorable court is going to refer the matter back to the parliament, again, because we are told that time is a factor. How does that translate into all these issues? We are going to try to understand these matters, And to help us understand in the studio, we're joined by Sanaullah Khan Sahab, Advocate, High Court. Thank you very much for being part of the program. On Skype, we are joined by Arif Chaudhry Sahab, who is a legal expert, also been associated with Supreme Court Bar Association. Thank you very much, Arif Sahab, for being part of the program. Arif Chaudhry Sahab, let me start with you. What do you expect from this law, this case? And do you think that it actually merited a suo motu?
Thank you very much, Patafi Saab. As far as the case is concerned, Article 184.3 has two dimensions and two aspects, which cover suo motu action, particularly under Article 184.3. One is that the matter should be of fundamental rights, and the second is that it should be of public importance. So I think both these things are available in this proposition, because the matter with regard to election is the right of association guaranteed to every individual citizen under Article 17 of the Constitution, right of association, and to have their chosen representatives. And the other is public importance. So public importance cannot be more than this, that who has to run the affairs of the state, who has to run the government. That is the question which is a paramount consideration. And so that's why, as far as its legitimacy with respect to being fixed before this honorable court is concerned, I don't see any reason to doubt it. But the other thing is that
The first part of the question, sir, regarding what do you expect out of this, because we understand if there is something missing in the Constitution and there is ambiguity, the Honorable Court cannot actually create legislation to fix it. It will have to go to the Parliament, I suppose, or whether the Honorable Court can fix this problem on its own.
Safi Saab, there is no ambiguity on this issue in the Constitution, because Article 105 and Clause 3, that is very clear about it, that the assemblies, provincial assemblies, when they are dissolved, the notification issued to be issued by the governor will have the date fixed for the elections, besides the formation of the caretaker government and other things. So in this case, it was prime duty and obligation of the governor to give a date, because you have our assemblies have already been dissolved, and you cannot keep this in limbo or in chaos, because it has to be take legal constitutional route, and constitutional route was to announce the date there and then. They didn't do it, and then the prime duty of the Election Commission is to hold elections under Article 218. So the Election Commission, instead of announcing date or taking date from the governor, they were running from here and there, and they were not announcing. At the end of the day, when the constitutional head of the country, when he finds this situation happening, that elections are not, the date is not being fixed, and the day is coming, because every day counts. And if you remember the words of Justice Munib Akhtar, he gave a comment that a clock is going, every minute is passing, and you cannot wait till the last minute, before expiry of 90 days. So that is the bottom line. There is no question that it has to go to the Parliament, because Parliament is subservient to this clause, because it is creation of the elections. The Parliament itself, which is constituted through the elections, how can they debate on this issue, that whether we should hold the elections within 90 days or not? They are bound, because this.
No, I understand that, Arif Chaudhry Sahab, but because repeatedly in this program you have brought up the matter of trichotomy of power, which is important, and then of course you have also pointed out regarding limitations of who actually, as it was pointed out today, that who is going to give the date. If the matter was so clear, then perhaps a suo motu would not have been needed. the matter perhaps is not as easy. Let me come back to the studio. Let me ask Sanaullah Khan Sahab, what stood up in today's, stood out in today's, hearings, and what do you think, where exactly is it going to go? I understand that today was basically a day for summons and framing of the questions, but that done, what are the significant questions that were asked today?
First of all, I will say that this decision by the Supreme Court is highly welcomed from different segments of society of Pakistan, especially in one of the cases, Justice Ijazul Ahsan as well as just the other justice in Ghulam Mahmood Dogar case pointed out that judicial suo motu has to be taken to decide whether the election are going to be held within 90 days because the clock is ticking. 30 days have already passed. In today's hearing, as for the suo motu notice which was circulated on social media, it was a long document. It has a limited scope. As you already
hang
said,
on. Sorry to cut you, but you just pointed out that Honorable Justice actually said that time is ticking and time is passing, passing. Let me ask you, is it, really a lookout of the Honorable Court on its own, or is it a lookout of Election Commission?
actually it has to be decided by the Election Commission of Pakistan because
Until the time is over, it is not a concern. Automatically, should it trigger any kind of concern in the courts?
it shouldn't. But keeping in mind the constitutional crisis of Pakistan over the last 9 to 10 months, right from the no confidence motion against the ex-PM and his government, right from the CM election of Punjab, and now this is the third most constitutional crisis which is happening right now, and it has to be decided because Pakistan's economic conditions cannot afford any hiccup.
I believe that today Justice Mansoor Ali Shah and Justice Atar Minallah also actually raised some very pertinent questions about the nature of this constitutional crisis, whether anybody can actually on whims dissolve an assembly, or whether the CM had his own agency, exercised his own agency, or was being pressed by a party leader. What do you think of that?
It is a really surprise move because the scope of the suo motu was already decided by the Honorable Chief Justice. But in today's proceeding, Honorable Justice Atar Minallah pointed out that another issue which needs to be settled in another suo motu is that whether the assembly which was dissolved in Punjab and KP is legal, whether the process was legal, we should also decide that. And Honorable Chief Justice said, agreed with him and said, we will decide it and I will write it down in the order. Order is still pending, but it is a really confusing move, and if that suo motu is also taken, then it has to be decided earlier, prior to the other suo motu.
Sorry to cut you, but was this question not already included as by the Honorable Chief Justice of Pakistan?
No, it was not.
Okay.
There was a limited scope, as you already
No, but when he actually saw the point, when it was raised before the bench by one of the other judges, then at that time, did he not concede that this is also a very illegitimate question?
Yes,
and it should be included?
Yes, Chief Justice concurred with him and said that it should be included in the suo motu proceedings, and we will write it down in the order, he said.
Right. Let me go back to, Arif Chaudhry Sahab. Arif Chaudhry Sahab, you said that the matter is cut and dry. If it is, who do you think is actually exceeding his mandate? Is it the Election Commission? Is it the governors of Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, or the president, or everybody is working within their realms or their interpretation of law, but despite the fact that there is some kind of ambiguity which you don't see in the law?
Yes, as far as keeping in view the constitutional provisions, governors are under legal obligations and they want to give the dates. There is no question about that, and that is written law, loud and clear in the constitutional words, Article 105, Clause 3, that they have to give date. They shall. And when they know that assemblies are dissolved, then there was no reason to wait for the date, because that order, that notification is bound to include all these details. First thing is to give the date for the new elections. And number two, which is very important, many people are considering that the president has no power because he can only under Article 57 of the Election Act. It is the president who can only give dates about the general elections, and general election doesn't mean the elections of the provincial assemblies.
Right.
Sir, you see, there is no word of provincial assemblies or national
Right.
assemblies.
Arif
It
Chaudhry
is
sir,
word
I
just
understand that
general
you are
election.
responding, sorry to cut you sir, but I understand that you are responding to certain interpretations of Article 57, but actually Section 57, but there is something else that was pointed out, that the president cannot issue a date without meaningful consultation with the election commission. And since there was no, consultation of the sort, there was a letter that was written, but that did not amount to meaningful consultation. So therefore, the president did not have the right to do it.
Tafi Saab, let me answer this question. There is a standard procedure everywhere. The obligation of the authority to summon for consultation is, first thing they have to do is, the president sent a letter which was not responded, and it is absolutely unique kind of conduct on the part of election commission, because it is the head of the state who is asking that, and sending a letter, and that's not being responded. And thereafter, second invitation given by the election commission, they should have gone. And if they didn't go, the election commission, then it will be presumed that they missed that occasion and they were not willing to be part of that consultation which was going to be held by the president of Pakistan.
Right.
So it never means that, the procedure was not adopted. The same way, you see that Governor Punjab gave his explanation that he did not issue the notifications of dissolution of assemblies, forgetting the mandate of the constitution, which is very clear that if within 48 hours it is not assented by the governor, the assembly shall be presumed to be dissolved after
Right.
48 hours. So
Right.
that means the same thing. So here they were
No, hang
supposed
on,
to
hang
go
on,
to
hang on.
consultation.
Just to clarify, sir, just to clarify, regarding what you said about president writing a letter and it was not responded, I grant you that it might be seen in poor taste. But do you think that if that letter is responded only through refusal, does that also amount to consultation? Because there is a precedent where the Honorable Court has already qualified that the consultation has to be meaningful. So will this qualify as consultation? And secondly, governor, sir, well, hang on, sir. Regarding governor, if the governor does not dissolve, is he still obliged to give a date, or the law is silent on the matter?
I will answer your second question first.
So,
Governor, because that is written in the constitution, the procedure is very clear. Whether he signs, assents or not, it is same way as for any law, for anything which is to be done by the uh, uh, chief prime minister, he sends that summary to the president, and if for a certain period of time president doesn't respond to it or doesn't send it back for any clarification or any correction or change or whatsoever, that will be presumed to be accepted, and that is the law. Same analogy is in this, that if the governor, because that is the mandate of the constitution, that 48 hours is the period, is the limit. If he doesn't do anything, not take any action, that shall be considered to be. So that is act of constitution, and that is fait accompli as far as the dissolution of assembly is concerned. And the second thing, the meaningful consultation as far as the mandate of the law is concerned, and that is in Al Jihad Trust, that is very famous case. That is about the appointment of judges. And even in those consultations, if they don't give their input, they, because when it was involved, what was the style? That they would, the president or the governor would ask the Chief Justice, the relevant Chief Justice, about his recommendations. If he fails to give any recommendations, then naturally he will take a decision. But if he has his reservations, then he has to give those reservations. In this case, nothing was done on behalf of the election commission. If they had any reservations, they should have given the reply to the president.
No, but shouldn't the president's office first have gone to the Chief Justice of Pakistan for clarification before actually taking this step and declaring a date?
No, why should he go to the Chief Justice? Because Constitution gives him, law gives these powers to him.
Yeah, so what you are saying is that the president is not obliged to hold any meaningful consultation before acting on this thing.
Meaningful consultation, if somebody who has to render meaningful consultation or has to be part of that consultation fails to join that, then there is no alternative with the president. When the constitution mandate itself is being flouted and every day is passing. So after going through those formalities, it was obligation of the head of the constitutional head of the country to give dates.
Right, absolutely, sir. But to a layman, it also seems that because one party had this calculation that if elections are forced in Punjab, then there will be some kind of election held at the center also. And because the president is repeatedly being seen through a partisan lens, the fear was that perhaps he also exceeded the mandate to placate the very same person, to placate whom Chief Minister of Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa actually dissolved the assemblies. But allow me to come back to the studio. Sanaullah Khan Sahab, are the matters so clear? If that is so, why does the Honorable Court need to intervene at all?
Actually, this matter is not so clear like it looks. Because this is a new thing, this is a nascent thing from in Pakistan, that two of the provincial assemblies have been dissolved, while the other assemblies, including National Assembly, is still working and still is in session. And moreover, there is PDM, the whole of lot of the parties on one side and PTI on the other side. And moreover, the constitution provides a very limited role to the President of Islamic Republic of Pakistan. He is a titular head, but Section 57 of the Election Act 2017 provides him that he shall announce, the word used is shall, he shall announce that the elections are going to be held on such and such date after consultation with the Election Commission of Pakistan. Now, Election Commission of Pakistan have clarified that they are not going to give any date.
Yeah, but again, since you brought up the election law, can any law amend the constitution on its own?
No. Now that is a confusion, that president cannot be anything above the constitution. Whatever the mandate which has been provided to the president within the constitution, he has to remain in it. But the Election Act is still in field. It was passed by the parliament. And 57th section clearly provides that president shall, the word shall, if he doesn't do it, then what else? He can also come under Article 6. Because the discussions are roaming all around.
With due respect, we use very generous, use of Article 6. Every time we disagree with anything, we end up invoking Article 6, which has never been used properly in this country.
Exactly.
So is it essential that we have to always go to Article 6? Perhaps it is redundant and we should actually replace it with something else. But having said that, why actually go there? Why not actually focus on the fact that there was need for consultation? Do you think that there was need for meaningful consultation, or the correspondence between the presidency and election commission amounted to said consultation already?
The law demands that there must be meaningful consultation between the president as well as the election commission, because election commission under Article 218 gets hold of almost all the election process after dissolution of the assemblies. But Election Commission of Pakistan is reluctant Election Commission of Pakistan has shown that it has got no interest in getting the election within the prescribed 90 days.
Okay.
And that particular thing.
And I'm sorry, because one of the looks to me that out of all these parties that are included, the weakest is Election Commission of Pakistan, right? Everybody actually takes it out on the Election Commission of Pakistan. Don't you see this argument that they have been actually giving, that law actually clearly states that it is essentially the governor who has to give the date, and two, in order to hold an election, you need all the resources that are needed, and they are not getting those resources either.
Now the question is whether the Election Commission showed its bona fide that they have tried. They have written letters to the governors, they have written letters to the president that we want to hold the election, and as per the Lahore High Court judgment,
the Election Commission met with the governors, right?
Met with
there was
what
a
went
meeting.
Inside that meeting, it's no one knows what happened there.
These meetings are minuted. They are minutes.
They're minuted. But the main question is that there is also a decision of Lahore High Court. Jawad Hassan clearly stated that elections are going to be held within the 90 days and the clock is ticking. It has to be implemented. And now the question is, these crises will keep on going, but who will get effect?
Okay.
The layman.
Okay, these crises, by that you mean economic crisis, terrorist crisis, and so many other crises. And no matter how many people die, the elections have to take place, right? Is it what you're saying?
Exactly, because caretaker cabinet cannot work for more than 90 days as per the constitution.
But today Honorable Chief Justice also pointed out that in special circumstances, there can be some relief regarding that date also. But first they have to examine the merits of the case, right? This is what was stated.
We have to get out of that doctrinal necessity thing.
No,
if the law is providing that we have to hold elections.
Necessity. Hang on.
Yeah.
You don't have money.
Yeah.
You don't have workforce because the country is under attack from terrorists. What do? Do you spare, pull all the police from there and actually dedicate it to an election which will expose a lot of people? Is it what we are going to do?
Actually, the thing is, that's why the Somoto is taken. They will bring all the stakeholders before the Honorable Supreme Court, and they will decide, because all the political parties, this decision has to be taken in the parliament,
right,
by all the politicians and all the political parties.
That's interesting. And let me remind everybody that because the role of an anchor is that of a contrarian. So I am being the devil's advocate here, and I'm just trying to ask a question to get the best possible answers. Arif Chaudhry Saab, what kind of relief can we expect from this suo motu? Do you think that it can actually, in the end up ordering Election Commission to give a date, because Lahore High Court had already done that, or whether the Honorable Court can actually announce a date on its own, or vet or support the President's decision, or whether it can interpret the law in a way that it can also penalize the people who were not playing ball?
Tafi Saab, we have to see the future of this case under the circumstances and attending circumstances. What I have seen today, the division amongst the bench, the speech of Mohtarama Maryam Nawaz and the Interior Minister, they have launched direct attack on the judiciary, members of the judiciary. And then division amongst Bar Council, Pakistan Bar Council has brought a reference against one sitting judge, as well as they demand that this bench should not work as is, because they have no confidence in this bench. I see the future of this litigation ending up in the same crisis at turmoil, which was in '97. I was one of the members of that committee who was working in unison with the Supreme Court and trying to convince them, under the head was our motto, that there should be no two courts, and that was that had happened due to Quetta bench, that the two courts, separate Supreme Courts, were delivering two separate decisions. So if I see the notes of the judges today, and even on the formation of the bench and the role of the bar, and the question raised by other Mr. Justice Atar Minalla and Mansoor Ali Shah, I see a lot of things happening, and this government is not going to let the Supreme Court take a decision. They will
Right.
create such an
No,
atmosphere
hang
that
on. Arif Chaudhry sir, perhaps you did not understand my question. My question, I understand that you are talking about the political culture at this moment. And of course, you are referring to the healthy difference of opinion that might be there on the bench as well. But my question was regarding the legal aspect of this case. When it comes to the mandate of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, what is the maximum relief the Honorable Court can give? Is it a date of election? Is it penalty to anybody who is not, playing ball or cooperating with the whole letter of the law? Or whether it is merely, asking Election Commission exactly what Lahore High Court actually did, asking the Election Commission to announce a date.
this is what I see. Definitely, there is 2+2 in this case. That election is to be held within 90 days, and Supreme Court is going to give a date. But at the end of the day, Article 190 seems to be being invoked under the circumstances, because what I see, this is not going to be implemented. And the court will not be left with any other choice. But as far as the court is concerned, I don't think that court has enough scope or choice to take any other decision, because the decision is writ large on the face of the Constitution, and it is the
Right.
same way as it was happening in previous, when there was an issue of deputy speaker's ruling. Everybody was saying that it is writ large, and there's no other decision can be taken. But now the situation is that no other decision other than holding elections within 90 days can be
Right.
taken as far as the
And
Court is concerned. And that
And
is
Arif
the
Chaudhry sir, because you earlier also brought up Justice Atar Minalla's observation, that question that he raised about legitimacy or dissolution of assembly, is it also a serious issue? Do you think that that should also be taken into cognizance in the end? This whole becomes this whole argument becomes moot if the assembly was dissolved illegally.
Yes, that is the question. The reason for raising that question at this point in time, it seems to be, something other than, the decision being taken, because when we see the bickering and when we see the division, and beside that division, we see this kind of questions, at this point in time, things don't seem to be ending up in a proper, unified, a unanimous decision. Things are going to be split.
Is there any compulsion to have a unanimous decision? You keep on saying that
No,
it
there
might
is
not.
no
In the past also it was majoritarian decisions
Yeah,
that
you are
actually
right,
stayed.
right. There
Yeah.
would be majority decision with the dissenting node, and majority
Yeah.
decision would be hold election within 90 days, irrespective of this fact, because assemblies were dissolved according to the Constitution, and Constitution is very clear about dissolution of assemblies. These questions have never been raised, because that can be raised only in the parliament, and for that they have to give a new legislation. They have to bring
Right. And
a-
Arif Chaudhry Sahab, with due respect, earlier also our young friend here, Advocate Sanaullah, was actually pointing to a constitutional crisis that has enveloped this country for past 10 months. And frankly, any of the things that we saw in these 10 months, were they ever be done in the past? For example, have you seen any assembly being dissolved when a vote of no confidence is going on, or for that matter, when the honorable courts actually ask a governor to take, hold election, actually speaker to hold election in the provincial assembly, or a vote of confidence or no confidence, that being sabotaged through brute force, or for that matter, the governor refusing to take oath of the new CM, or for that matter, that government also being thrown out on the basis of the difference between who is the party head and who is the parliamentary head. So many new things have happened. Why are we so skeptical about new questions?
I tend to agree with you because the scenario which you have depicted, that is correct. Because all these things, have never been seen before, and within these 10 months, things have gone topsy. What you say, turvy, topsy, because the constitution has also become, there is a mockery with the constitution also, because everybody is giving his own explanation, and the polarization amongst the constitution experts, that is also what I am seeing has never happened, because anybody who is related to this profession or interpretation of constitution, he has to give his unbiased opinion. But unfortunately, things have gone so polarized that even the legal experts, while giving their interpretation, they always take into cognizance and into care that the interest of their political party, and they give
Yeah.
interpretation according to that.
No, no,
Yeah.
absolutely,
This
sir.
is
But I wanted to actually keep the discussion limited to the court proceedings and what exactly is happening there. So the only trigger point was that when you said that this question is something else, it is why now? So my humble submission was that if the suo motu is correct, if all the questions that are being asked are also legitimate, then this question also merits some kind of response, and this also amounts to legitimacy. And let us also not nitpick among the honorable court. So this was my humble submission, but let me come back to Sanaullah Sahab. Today, something else also happened, and Arif Chaudhry Sahab also alluded to it. Pakistan Bar Council actually came up with a demand that, Justice Mandokhel also actually pointed to the so-called tapes, and because of that, Bar Council actually said that the honorable judge should recuse himself, and that the bench should include another senior most justice. Do you think that that issue is going to also play out in tomorrow's and Monday's proceedings, or not at all?
I don't think so that it will play anything, because this thing were on the card. A few days ago, Islamabad High Court Bar Association and the other associations said that we are going to file reference against the judge involved in the audio leaks. And today, a reference has been sent to Supreme Judicial Council against the same judge for having acid beyond his means and for using his authority.
No, hang on. Let me correct. One, A, it is justice, not judge, right?
Yeah.
Because he is supreme.
Yeah, sure.
The second thing is he is not involved. He is accused to be involved.
Accused to be
But,
involved,
yeah. So
Yeah,
let
sure.
us be correct on that.
Yeah,
Please.
he is accused to be involved. And moreover, today Pakistan Bar Council categorically issued a statement wherein they said that two of the second most senior most pune judge, Faiz Isa Saab, and the other Tariq Masood Saab, Justice Tariq Masood Saab, was not included in a very important matter, and 9 members bench was missing them. And now the controversial justice, who is alleged to have done some wrong in the audio leaks as well as in the assets beyond means, then if the justice was justice knew about these things, he should not have included him in the bench already. But if he did, then it is not going to cause any hurdle.
Okay, so let us not call him controversial either, because controversy emanates from the purported nature of allegations. We still don't have any reason to believe the veracity
But this
of
is
those
what
claims.
Pakistan Bar Council said
Yeah.
in their statement categorically today,
Okay, and that is not going to play out at all.
because this was on the cards already 2 days ago. They said that we are going to send 4 references against the same justice,
Yeah,
and he was still included in the bench.
right. And how does it impact, basing on their argument, how does it impact the proceedings of a court which has 9 members on the bench? Because if one justice does not agree, the rest will take care of the matter.
Yeah, actually, because there are 9-member bench.
Yeah.
Then if the 5 is on the majority, then they are going to decide the matter. But they said that the bench should not be controversial at all.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah, but
2022,
the fact of the matter is that throughout these 10 months, every bench that was found was made controversial, not because there was something wrong with that bench, but because our political polarization that Arif Chaudhry Sahab was alluding to has this capacity to present anybody as pariah. Is it not true?
Yeah, it's true, because
So
political parties have their own
why
vested
take a
interest.
position of this sort, of actually dubbing somebody as compromised or controversial?
Actually, this is what our political party does, because
No,
they
but Pakistan Bar Association is not, sir, for that matter, it is not a political body, is it?
it is not a political body, but definitely they want the rule of law. And they said in 2022,
Everyone does that.
yeah, and in 2022, SN Boon Sahab and the other bodies held a press conference, and they questioned the power of the Chief Justice alone to constitute the bench.
Yeah, but that is neither here nor there,
Yeah.
because it is a matter which can either be resolved by the honourable court
Yeah.
or then this
Parliament,
Parliament, which is the apex
under
body,
Article 190 191.
law-making body.
Yeah.
So let us not go there, because it is not relevant to this question right now. But let me go back to Arif Chaudhry Sahab. Arif Chaudhry Sahab, now that certain concerns are raised by the Bar Council against an honourable justice, will this impact the proceedings at all, or this should be ignored and these matters should not play any part in public discourse?
These things should not play any part in these proceedings, because as far as Pakistan is concerned, judiciary is supreme, and we have to give maximum respect to all the honorable judges, irrespective of their observations or decisions, whatever they take, because decision can be either way, so everybody has to accept that, fair comment is always forgivable, it doesn't matter. But as far as political parties are concerned, the criticism being raised by the governing political party, it shows that besides that, the role of the bar, I am quite clear that from tomorrow you will see things in such a way which you have never seen, because this bar council will go there and they will raise this question, and there would be lot of bickering, and there would be lot of wars, because I have seen that prior in time, that same bar council who is actually with they are in line with the government. One of them is the law minister, Mr. Tarak. They have to do this as far as they are concerned, because they met me and Shehbaz Sharif, the Honorable Prime Minister, and then there was discussion, and this is being
Yeah,
tailored
but
and proper. Yeah.
again, sir,
Yeah.
I understand. I'm not the one to nitpick, but with due respect, you said that we are going to see things which we have never seen. I like to believe that we have seen everything already. For example, earlier when you started this discussion, you said that it reminds you of 1997. So there, once again, we have seen something similar. But we have also seen how PTI reacted to the initial judgment that actually reversed Imran Khan's decision to dissolve assemblies. So that has been happening, and that is not within the purview of discussion on any legal matters. But do you think that in coming days we are going to see that there is going to be a clear answer to these questions that have been raised, or not?
There would be clear answers to all these questions as far as the bench is concerned and the Supreme is concerned, the court is concerned. I'm very clear about that. Even this question raised by Honorable Mr. Justice Atar Minallah shall be answered properly, because, the dissolution of assembly, that is also part of the Constitution, and the constitutional provision has been adopted. And, similarly, all those questions which have been raised, it should not, as far as my wish is concerned, we all should wish. And moreover, let me correct, the situation that I don't hold belief for any political party. I don't go to appreciate, or praise anything done by PTI, because for me, both.
I know that. I know that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
whatever
Arif Chaudhry Sahab, we have known each other
Yeah.
through these programs long enough to know that you actually don't play favorites. And whatever you are saying, the way you are calling out the ruling party at this moment, you kept on calling out the previous party as well.
When, when PTI criticizes the bench, I am always against them. Same way, and we both, are in line with each other as far as the country is concerned. Whosoever may be ruling, but the institutions, even for that matter, establishment, we have never gone to that extent. As the political parties go and they cross the boundaries.
Absolutely. Arif Chaudhry Sahab, the good news out of your comments is that we are going to get clear answers on these on these questions which merit an answer. Thank you very much, sir. I'm told that we have run out of time. Arif Chaudhry Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for your precious time. Sanaullah Khan Sahab, thank you very much for being part of the program as well. Viewers, you have listened to our, our participants. And the question that have been raised are quite legitimate. They are serious issues. In coming days, you are going to see, because our media also has the capacity to get obsessed with one thing or the other. In coming days, you are going to see marathon transmissions based on the tickers that come out of Honorable Court. But that said, the fact is that we are in a pickle, and we are in this pickle because at least to many commentators, it seems that the law is not very clear. That's why various parties are trying to take advantage of perhaps actually shrugging their shoulders and saying that they can't do much, or then they can actually unilaterally give the date of the election as well. But because this matter is before the court, in coming days we will see what exactly becomes of this situation. But again, going back to Article 184.3, the question again is, what exactly is of critical import to the people of Pakistan? Is it holding an election because one party actually believes that it can win if the elections take place now, and because if it can win in Punjab, then it can force an election at the center also, or whether the matter of inflation. I bring up this issue because, as was pointed out by our honorable panelists, that the honorable judges have cleared their schedules, and this is the matter of utmost interest right now. So what becomes of Bar Khan case, what becomes of inflation, that perhaps we can discuss in another time. Finally, because this program also delves into discussion on politics, let us also, I wanted to just share with you a brief chuckle regarding the so-called Jail Bharo Tariq, because today it seems that the people who actually got arraigned yesterday ended up asking for bail. And then also we saw the sights and sounds coming from television that police officers in various localities were asking people to volunteer, and there was no volunteer. So that becomes the problem of unimagined interventions by political parties. And if we are going to believe that this was unimaginative intervention, then why not also ask ourselves whether dissolution of two assemblies prematurely, whether that was a sane job or not. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.